So with that in mind, I will say no more. I'll hand over to Carl. Have a great morning and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. So, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. One of the things that you'll understand very quickly is I'm not a professional speaker. So that's the first thing you'll notice. Secondly is that what you will hear over the next 2 days, and particularly with mine, is that you've heard before. So there's nothing that you will have heard. This will be brand new, okay? Simply what these are about is reminders. We're not children in the room here, so I know for a fact that the amount of IP, intellectual property sitting around the room is enormous. So as business people and as people in the communities, I absolutely guarantee that each one of you know what I'm going to say. We're just going to talk about some reminders and maybe just in a slightly different way. So, before I talk about me, what I'll do is quickly, just because I'm new to Kingaroy this time, just run around the room very quickly, and I'd like to know your name, what you represent, whether it's a company or your association, where you're from, okay, and also why you're here, okay, why you're here. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But I'm actually here. I think we can all listen to each other, do you know, because that's what community's all about, you know. And there's a lot of experience in the room here, some more than others. There is a mixture of grey hair and no hair. I feel both. So what would that be? Who would like to start introducing themselves? Who'd like to start? Come on. Thank you very much.
All right.
Maxine.
Yeah, I'm Maxine. I'm Secretary Manager of the Kingaroy RSL. Just here to hear about, dealing with like the COVID situation. We dealt with that. The meeting that we had at the time was filled with some good people and some bad people who were for and against. So this is just to find out how we can deal with any contingencies that come up.
Thank you for coming.
I'm Rowena. I'm the Assistant Manager at the Kingaroy RSL. I am here because there's a lot of speakers over the next couple of days that have got some interesting slants on things, and I think it's good for us as a business to get those ideas and take something. You always take something away from everything you go to, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Some new ideas. Okay.
Joy Fennell, I'm Secretary of the Queensland Dairy and Heritage Museum in Mergen, non-for-profit organisation, and I guess I'm here to get some pointers as to how we can improve, go forward, whatever. Yeah.
How we can do some improvements, all right?
My name's Elaine Medill and I'm the President of the Wondai Regional Art Gallery. I live in Wondai, have been there for over 20 years. Had a stroke 7 years ago, but nobody else wanted my job, didn't pay anything. So I'm here because wherever I can go, and I know I'll learn something. And that's what I do. My job has changed a bit from before my stroke. I was running everything now. Now my job is mainly PR and sort of taking things back to our committee.
Very good, thank you.
Erin Cook, I might be a bit of a fraud here, I'm a sole trader.
Yes.
And then
Same with me.
thank you, and a historic costume element.
Okay, and where are you living?
Here in
Kingaroy.
Kingaroy.
So you just explain that a bit more?
I buy original patterns from 1860 onwards and I make them and I sell the patterns online. I have a large overseas component to my business. I have very little local.
Sure.
So I thought networking would be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Very good, thank you.
I'm Gloria Kirkness.
Gloria.
I spoke to you this morning, Bill, didn't I?
You did, yes, you did, yes.
I realise that. I'm the treasurer of Miss South Burnett, and of course I'm very interested to hear all sorts of things in the next 2 days.
Thank you. Kelly?
I'm Kelly Moore. I've just recently moved back to Kingaroy. I'm a bit of a sole trader as well, so I'm in complementary therapies and looking to start something up again. So I'm just here to learn and get as much.
Yeah.
Okay. And where would you come back, when you say come back to Kingaroy, where you were living?
Previously I was in Menango.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
sort of Brisbane and Nowra and
Okay.
places and back here. So
Thank you.
I'm Joy Couch, this is my husband Greg, we're farmers, so yeah, we're not for profit as well.
Oh, that is gold. That's very good. That's the. We can go home now after hearing that. So, when are you farmers? What do you mean farmers?
Farmers, well, we farm.
Yeah.
We've got,
farm what?
Yes,
cattle,
please.
sheep and crops,
Okay.
and yeah,
Here in
we're at Brooklands,
Brooklands.
just
Okay.
outside Menango.
Yep.
And I have a big garden, so yeah,
And a bit of a nursery. And a nursery.
nursery, yeah, I
That's
sell
right.
plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm the other half. I'm part of Gamblers Anonymous. And, no, I run the meat sheep business. We have a paddock to plate meat, lamb meat.
I've been to your house.
You maybe have.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just here to learn whatever I can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because we have our ups and downs in the rural.
Who has ups and downs? You're no. Yeah. Greg, you're not on your own. Okay.
But no, it's not too bad.
I thought it was only me who had ups and downs. Obviously, there's other people.
That's right.
Thanks, Greg.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I'm on the management committee of Visit South Burnett as well, and I also farm capers with my husband as Bunya Red Farm.
I've met you before.
Yes, and so yes, not-for-profit
That's
organisation
how I
as
met.
well. And
I've been talking about your capers.
Oh well, okay,
yeah.
that's interesting. Okay, lots of capers. So I'm here to support Visit South Burnett as well, network, plus also Alan, my husband, who's home doing chores while I'm not here. I'm here, and he's on a couple of hall committees, and we're on a couple of other organisations as well. We help out, and we find there's an ageing population in the whole region, and how are we going to fill those spaces when sort of the generation moves on?
Yeah.
One of our Alan was at a hall meeting last night, and the 85-year-old's not going to run again this year, sort of thing. So we need to put new blood into committees and events and things that move on. So
That commonality. You've never heard that before, have you? This is. Oh, I didn't know this.
that's very much a thing in this region. So any hints and tips you can provide, we will happily take.
Hang on, I just got that magic wand. I'll bring it out in a minute. All right. Thank you for coming.
I'm David Kenny from Menango, and I'm, like Mandy, I'm on the management committee for the VSB, but my main activity in my retirement days these days is the rail trails and cycling, and all the tourism aspects would go with that, as well as the running side of it too, park runs and things that have come on in the world. So that would be my aspect, to learn as much as I can to keep the rail trails and the outdoor activities in the area progressing.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Alan.
I'm Alan from Menango. I've just bought into what little remains of the family farm.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically starting out on my own with my lovely wife Sue, there, who's got to go away house sitting for 6 weeks. But I'm sort of diesel fitter by trade, and I'm sort of working on that sort of thing, as well as doing the farm, cattle and crops.
Yep.
And 3 sheep, one day of course, and today, and Wednesday. We didn't want to have 3 days.
That's right, a 3-day week. Get your RDO.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, starting out, trying to get into different ways of, like hip campers and all that sort of stuff, and how to be able to go about things. And
Sure. Okay. Right on. Thank you for coming.
And Greg, do you know how to make a small fortune farming?
big one.
Yeah. That's sort of uniform as well.
That was my dad's.
When you win the car.
I'm Daniel Rock. I'm representing my wife and I today from Hillview Cottages. We're a partnership, and then we have a small beef herd that we run under a trust. But I'm here today to learn what I don't know.
My goodness. That's a good place to start. That's a very good place to start. We don't know what we don't know, right? Yeah. Well, I'm here to learn from you guys as well, so please. Okay. So, who am I? I'm from a little town called Monto. Has anyone heard of Monto? Les Hotz. Les Hotz is the new mayor, yep. So, that's where I was born. And I used to come to Kingaroy quite a lot because I went to school with a guy called Neil Black. And so Neil and I, we met so we've been sleeping together now since we were 12. And, sorry? Yeah. So that's how long I've known Neil. So we were at boarding school together, and I would come down here just about every weekend after we left school, and I'd come down and spend a weekend. So I love coming to Kingaroy, except for the weather. I struggle in the cold. Even though Monto is very cold, I no longer live in Monto either. So that's where I started. So I'm a country boy. I'm not a farm boy. So I've never really worked on a farm, but I have a real affinity for what you guys are going through, because every small country town, by the way, wherever you go in the world, and I've been very lucky that I've done business all around the world. I've spoken all around the world. I'm not a professional speaker, but I speak at these types of events because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about business and about how you can help, how I can hopefully help people improve their business and make because that's my why. My why is actually trying to help people. And I've been doing that now for 66 years. I'm just passionate about it. And so the first, so does it make sense? So I started in Monto, finished up in Rockhampton, finished up in Sydney, and then went to Vietnam. So, and then I lived in the US, and I lived in the UK. But just before COVID, I was running businesses in Vietnam. Who's been to Vietnam? Good? Enjoy it? Yeah? Terrific place. That's, ladies and gentlemen, was where I really saw resilience. I really saw resilience working. So for those people who've been to Vietnam, just crossing the road is an experience. You know, that's where you have faith. And for those people who don't understand what I'm talking about, the roads are chock-a-block full of motorbikes. And they're all coming different ways. And the footpath is just another extension of the road. So just because you're in the footpath doesn't mean that you're not going to get hit. And the zebra crossings, they're just there to break up the black concrete. Nobody takes notice of zebra crossings. So when you go to cross the road, you have to step out, and there's just this sea of traffic coming towards you, motorbikes, because they don't stop unless they've got lights. And even then, that doesn't really have anything going, right? So you step out, and this is a bit like people in business. We step out thinking, oh, this is a good idea. Let's go and get into business, all right? So we step out onto the footpath, and there's all this traffic coming down. And miraculously, in Vietnam, they go around you because they don't want to run over you either. I've worked on the basis, rightly or wrongly, maybe stupidly, that they don't want to do the paperwork to running over an old white man. So they will do their best to actually... But here's the thing, you've got to keep going so they know you're going this way. And I can tell you, for those people who've done it, it is very scary. Very scary. Now, for those people in business and in associations, it doesn't matter. It's a leap of faith, all right? So you step out and just keep going because you've got the goal is to get to the other side of the road. which is like business, to get the other side of the road without being killed or financially run over. So just make sure it's only motorbikes. If you go to Vietnam, make sure it's only the motorbikes you take you don't take that leap of faith with trucks and buses because they don't care, all right? So in business, it's the same thing. You've got to step out, and going to Vietnam was just the most amazing experience to live over there. I ran businesses over there. It's not easy to do. I don't speak Vietnamese. It is the most difficult language to learn. I tried for 3 months and I gave up. Even my one-on-one tutor, she gave up on me. She said, "You are completely useless." Because it's 7 tones. And I'm tone deaf. 7 tones. Mandarin's only 4 tones. Right? I can understand Mandarin more easily than I can understand Vietnamese. So here we are. Old white man in Vietnam, can't speak English, struggle speaking English, I'm from Monto, right? Can't speak Vietnamese, struggle with English, and here I am thinking it's a good idea to set up a business. How do you reckon that's going to go?
What were you thinking?
Oh, exactly, and so political. Remember, it's a communist country. Communist country, they control everything. Military control everything. How stupid am I? How stupid am I to do that? Right? But guess what? We made a success of it.
Because it depended on what sort of business you were doing.
I'm not very good at many things. I'm not very good at many things. But the reason that it became successful, and we'll cover some more of this later, is that I partnered with the right people who could speak Vietnamese, but they could understand me, right? Could understand me, what I wanted to achieve. Okay? So,
What you're saying is, in our business, even though everybody speaks English, partner with somebody who's on the same team as what.
yeah, exactly.
Communication.
Like if I was going to do something, I'd partner with Greg because he's in the farming, I'm in the farming, and we could ideas and yeah.
Lesson number 1. Right? That's really, really important. Even though the language is completely different, the laws are completely different, but here we still have this block that we know everything. And I'm told every day I don't know everything, right? Okay? So really important to understand that in business, that you don't know what you don't know. And it doesn't matter where you go in the world, but you get the right partner.
You still haven't said what your business was.
Okay. So, first business was we set up, I decided that one of my passions is helping people, and I thought what I'll do is I'll bring over a whole heap of health equipment, medical equipment, and get it into Vietnam and donate it to the different charities. Got blocked. Government said, no, you're not doing that. Okay. Firstly, you've got to understand what the roadblocks are, right? But we'll talk about this in a second. So the next thing was, then a friend of mine rang me and said, who was living in Vietnam, and she used to work for me 20 years ago in Sydney, and she said, I'm currently the head of Collier's valuations in Saigon. I got her the job, actually, because a mate of mine was running Collier's at the time. And she said, I want to go out on my own. And I said, okay, so let's go and do this together. So we built a team of 45 valuers to go out, and that was our valuation business. And then, guess what happened? We needed a local partner to sign off on the valuations, And he decided that he wanted to start running the business and telling us what valuations we'd have to do. And Renee and myself said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Good guy, honest, but we're going to pick what we're going to do. Lesson, go into business, got to be clear. What you're going to do, but most importantly, what you're not going to do. Because most people they get confused about that. What you're not going to do. All right, so that was a really big lesson, and that, geez, that really set us back, Anyway, then what we went out and did, and we set up a real estate due diligence business. So what we were doing, we were bringing in foreign investment. This was before COVID, and we brought in the companies like Samsung, Intel, those sorts of big businesses that were setting up in manufacturing into Vietnam out of China. So you remember there was the big push just in the first Trump administration to relocate American US companies out of China and relocate them into Vietnam. And so that's what we would do. So we'd go to Hong Kong, we'd meet all these companies, and then we'd bring them over. Our last transaction we did was a $650 million US deal, US money, real money. And that was the people that made Ryobi power tools. You might know, anybody heard of Ryobi? Okay, Milwaukee. So we bought that. They came over, they built 2 factories. One was 10 hectares, the other was a 4-hectare factories. Huge factories. We brought them out, and they brought their 4,000 suppliers as well. And that's still happening. That takes years to do. So that's still happening for us. And we thought, geez, how easy is this? And then guess what happened? Bloody COVID. And we're out of business overnight because nobody could move. So I came back to Australia. So I come out of the property business. So I started life as an auctioneer, and then got into property in Sydney. And on the marketing side, we did some developments, made some money, lost some money. But I come out of the property business. So I've been really blessed and really lucky to work with some really, really smart people, because I don't know a lot, right? But I do know the value of partnering with the right people, and that's even internally with your business, even internally with your business. Make sense? Any questions on that? Helpful? Those people who want to go to Vietnam, great place to go. Oh, that's a wind up. Jeez. Okay. Right. Gosh. Okay. I've been asked I'm going to talk about Rotary. So who knows about Rotary? Rotary? Yeah? Okay. That goes round and round. Yeah, it's a bit like me. Go round and round and round. So that's it. That's this one here. Yes, Rotary badge. Yeah, thank you. So I'm a 3rd generation Rotarian. But I did not join Rotary because my grandfather and my dad joined, because I thought Rotary was for old people. That's what I thought. I said, I'm never, ever going to join Rotary because that's full of old people. Yes? No?
My son's not old, so he's in Rotary.
Oh, well, okay, there's one of us. Okay, right, okay. So I decided that I was going to, but what happened is that one of my philanthropy moments, Rotary were the biggest supporter of my cause. So that's why I joined Rotary, and I'll tell you a bit about my cause later. But anyway, so succession planning in Rotary. Now they don't get it right. Not everyone gets this stuff right. So please, but they do have a succession plan. So firstly is that it's 1 year for a president. 1 year, then you're out. You can extend, but 1 year. If you're in the district, it's 3 years. In district committees, it's 3 years. Okay. So first thing, if you're looking at your business or you're being in a committee, which a lot of people are, is that make sure you've got committee roles sorted out who they are. Right? Even if you've got not enough people to fill the roles, at least have them written out. Right? Have them written out. Okay? So you need a president, a vice president. Have that stuff, because that's critical about it. You've got to put the structure in before the people, because if you're looking for the people and then someone says, oh, you know, I'd like to join Rotary, what can I do? And then you've got to, well, we're actually looking for someone to fill this role. Yeah? Okay? So that's really important to have the structure in, even if you haven't got a person yet. Okay?
You know who I think is your most important person?
Who's that?
Your treasurer.
Treasurer is very important, but I'll tell you there's another person who's in the same bracket. Okay, so president, vice president, secretary, have all those roles there. That's really important to have, because it's part of your business structure. The other thing is understanding what those responsibilities are. Okay, now I've gone into lots of organisations and I didn't really understand what I was supposed to do. Now, whose job's that? It's this is my job to find out. But a lot of you say, what am I supposed to do? Oh, you'll make it up as you go along. No, don't do that. That really makes it difficult for people. And they go, and then in 12 months' time, they say, well, you didn't do a very good job, Carl. Yeah, but you didn't give me some clear. It's like, who's employing people? And you don't give them a job description.
We're not employing people, most of us, but we are looking after people.
That's right. So they've got to be clear. So job descriptions? I can imagine you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This industry. Whoa. Okay. So everyone needs to be clear about their job descriptions. Right? Now I know in farming, you're doing everything. Right? You're doing everything. But if you're in a committee, you need to be clear what that person's to do.
But you can still have that in farming.
Yeah.
I'm the president, I'm the vice
Yeah, exactly.
secretary.
Exactly. And
I'm the treasurer.
that's right. Exactly. It doesn't matter. In small business, it's exactly the same thing. It's just a committee is just a board. It doesn't matter, you know. It doesn't matter. And that has to be clear. Even if there's no body to fill that role, there's a vacant chair, right? So you haven't got a vice president, but at least create the position, right? At least create the position. And with all the job responsibilities that person is expected to do. Yeah? Really critical. These ladies can tell you all about job descriptions. Everything has to be clear, because it's just, otherwise it turns into a nightmare. Yeah? And you have to let people go. Yeah? And that's not an easy thing to do, right? No. But in a volunteer organisation, when you have to let people go, right? I had a mate of mine who was in Cambodia rescuing children that had been trafficked, and he moved over there, and there's 11 volunteers in running this organisation called Destiny Rescue, which is my cause. And he had to go over there. Now, Robert was originally from Rockhampton. He sold up his business in Caloundra, packed up and went overseas to save the world with his 5 kids and wife. Moved to Cambodia to rescue children. This is children, not girls, so the age between 5 and 16. He was rescuing them. He he had to. They had no structure in the business, in the thing. So he had 11 volunteers. He had to let go. Fire! Because they're all dressed up and nowhere to go. Volunteers, non-paid, living. They've packed up from the US, all overseas. They've packed up, gone to Cambodia to work in this organisation, but they had to go.
Because there wasn't really any organisation.
Correct. And they were actually the roadblock, if you can believe that. They were the roadblock.
The lack of organisation.
Yeah, exactly. So he had to come in and restructure the whole business. Because in the money side of things, they would just go, oh, well, go down the road and here's $20, go down and do. Yeah, and there was no fiduciary control, no nothing. So if you're donating money to that organisation and they're just, that money's just disappearing out the door, are you going to continue donating money to that? So if you're looking to get sponsors for your committee or any sponsorship, and those sponsors realise you don't have any fiduciary control with a good structural treasurer and the money and accountability, why would anybody donate to you? So poor old Robert, and he had to fire people who were a lot older than him, and he was early 40s, and some of these people have been there 10 or 15 years, working, like for nothing. Tough job. Sorry? Tough job, right? But he had to do it because the organisation was going backwards so fast. And it was the CEO of the company, of the Cambodian, who was running it. It's his fault. But, like football coach, right? Someone's got to go. Accountability. So the other thing is, so when you're looking for, again, your succession people to take these roles, is you've got to actually have a criteria. So do you have a criteria for that succession? So who is going to replace you, right? And what's the criteria? So what Rotary do is that the people have to demonstrate a commitment to the values of the Rotary Club, right? They have to be able to demonstrate. It's the same as when I'm going to want to get a job at the RSL. I need to be able to demonstrate that I can do the job. Yeah? Not just have a really good CV. Right? CVs are really good, right? Have you ever seen a bad CV?
Nope.
No, there you go. All right? So it doesn't matter whatever business you're in, you've got to make sure that these people can demonstrate their leadership. Demonstrate, do. Like, we've got a bunch of doers here in the room, I can tell you. All right? And they've got at least some experience in those positions. Then you've got to say, well, okay, so what's my method of identification? Watching. Watching them. If I go out and work for you, Greg, and you tell me to go down there and do something, and I come back in 2 days and it's not done, are you going to be happy?
Not necessarily.
Exactly. So you're going to be watching. That's what you're going to do. Watch. And that doesn't mean start correcting, just watch what happened. Recommendations, references, right? On your CV, references. And ring the references, right? Talk to people about this. Look, we're thinking of getting Carl to go and be our whatever, okay? Ring those people and say, don't just go, see, otherwise we become desperate and dateless. Because that's what happens in organisations, When I used to run I had a big real estate business in Sydney. Before I bought into the business, I was one of the partners. My partners, they recruited on the can I say this? The oh shit theory. Oh, we've just had someone resign. Right? And their recruitment criteria was they had a small fingernail and could fog a mirror. They got the job. Can you imagine the churn? Can you just imagine? Tremendous. So I actually had to go in there and sort that out. And I had a lot of pushback from them. So just think you're going to bring this sort of information into your organisation or into your company or into your business. Don't think everyone's going to sit there and say, oh, what a great idea. We've been waiting for you to come and deliver this wonderful ideas to us. I can just see these ladies sitting over here chuckling away. And that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to get pushback because, oh, that's the way we've done it before. Yeah, we've done it. No, it's okay. Don't worry, Carl. It's all right. My God, I used to have stand-up arguments with my business partners on changing your recruitment policies. They didn't. Oh, it was. Yeah.
I know I'm butting in a lot.
No.
How do you get around when, as I'll say subordinate, right?
Yes.
You believe that there are people above you
Yes.
that are in a position that should never ever have been in that
Yes.
position.
Yes. Wow.
Because they're not doing their job, they're not doing anything, they're just...
So Alan's question is, and let's make sure I got it right, is that you're in a different position and you're seeing people above you that you don't feel should be in that position or making that, yeah.
Because they're not doing their job, they're not...
Yep, not doing their job.
After people
Yep.
underneath them, they only seem to be there for their own pocket lining and
So,
those sort of things.
Everyone's nodding. That's really difficult.
And I'm getting pushed back because nobody wants to do anything. I'm going to be very a little bit intimate here, right? Because my wife was verbally abused, and that person who abused her has now been rewarded in front of her and the whole group. But my wife's just sitting there going, huh? And we can't get anything done. Nobody's wanting to do anything. Just move forward, put it under the carpet.
So it's actually really difficult. Really difficult. Yes?
Well, that's what I'm finding.
Yeah, really difficult. Okay.
Nobody's listening.
You're not the boss.
I'm not the boss.
No.
So you haven't got the power to really do much at all.
Let's go back to their staffing policy, if there is one.
It'll go back to that. It'll go back to that. I don't want to get into the details, but it'll go back to that. And the thing is that there's no structure. And that's the problem. With no structure, you're going to have trouble. And this is what you get, right?
How do you fix it though?
With great difficulty.
Generational change.
Sorry?
Generational change.
Yeah, that can happen.
I used to work in a bank and we used to call it PBA, promoted beyond ability.
Yeah, the Peter principle, right?
You
Yeah.
could get rid of it to another
Yeah.
brand.
Yes. Yeah.
Give them a promotion.
I'm sure that's happened to me. I'm sure that's happened to me. In fact, for the record, I have been fired so many times, it's not funny, right? I've been fired so many times from some really senior positions, so many times. So I've got a great history of being sacked.
Yeah, but you're being sacked by somebody above you.
Yes, but the other thing is I've also sacked myself. So one of the things that I've learned is that I have fired myself. Sometimes you just got to fire yourself and say, you know what, I can't do this. Right? That's the reality. But I have been sacked from some really big positions, wonderful positions that I wanted, and I loved it. Loved these positions, travelling around. You can imagine ego. Flying here, staying in the Hilton Hotel up in living the dream. And then bang, fired. I got fired once. I didn't get out of bed for 3 months. I was so devastated. So devastated. 3 months. Just imagine living with that. Me, for 3 months, not want to get out of bed. Just pathetic.
Are you still married?
Yeah. Did she sack you?
Best refer over to the counter over there. I'm not sure. She hasn't fired me yet. Put it that way. I'm on a probation. Been 10 years.
But being fired like that, if you can look at it in both ways, A, you can look at it on a negative, or B, you can look at it as a positive.
Can I tell you?
If you look at it as a positive, you can say to yourself, well, okay, I'm not there anymore, so now what can I do?
And that's exactly what. After 3 months, I came to that conclusion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. After I had 3 months with my counsellor, yeah, exactly. But everyone's been fired, right? In some way, right? No? Am I the only one? No. So, my goodness. Oh no, I've been fired when I've been the boss. Don't worry about that. Oh yeah, well I've been fired a few times on that one as well. No, it's true. No. My life's open. Yeah, no, exactly.
Carl, what about if you would say you were the boss and you fired yourself? What happens then to the vacuum that's left behind?
What a great question. That's what we're here to talk about. Because most of those organisations that I got fired from went backwards. Enormously.
So it was because you weren't there?
I'd like to think that. But that was my ego speaking. But actually what happened was I didn't set up the proper... I didn't identify the next people to come forward. I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But even if you think you have and it doesn't work, you're still sort of feeling a bit guilty about the whole thing, aren't you?
If I put things in place, if I mentor the next group of people coming through, and that's what I've learned to do, and I think age does this, because when I was in my 40s, I was just I was mean. I was really mean to get a job done. I was a business consultant. I was brought in by these big corporations, global corporations, to get stuff done. And God help anybody, because my family German, God help anybody that got in the road of me. And I would just steamroll people. So I feel more guilty about that. So I got the results, but I was very mean. And I would have got better results with long-term benefits if I hadn't have been so aggressive and so ego-driven.
But the case that I'm thinking about is I thought that this succession was in place. But when I think about it now, the person who was the anointed one as such, and it was in a community group, she was also a business owner, private business owner. So she was used to doing her own thing.
That's right.
And I had forgotten that when I was thinking about it.
Comes back to the criteria. So I might think I'm the anointed one, right? I might think I'm the anointed, or I might think you're the anointed one. But guess what? My why was I'm getting out of here. I've had enough. So I'm going to give you my problem, right? Pass the baton without understanding what that person's why. So it's back to your selection criteria and about understanding why people. And if you don't know, if we don't know why we're doing something, and that other person is not clear about what their why is, it's going to be a very, very shaky handover. So how do you think? Sorry, yeah.
No, my question, follow on to that, was perhaps the organisation needs to be clear on their why as well.
Oh.
Because if you can't find somebody to fill that position, is it pertinent for that organisation to continue on in its current format?
That is a good one.
Or can it be amalgamated with somebody somewhere else that has like mine that you're talking about, affiliation? You know, because I'm looking at the region.
Yeah, no.
As our ageing population.
Yes.
And as Gloria's example is, if it can't be stopped with further people, stopgapped with more people, maybe the organisation needs to look at itself.
Absolutely. But, the organisation is made up of a bunch of people. There's one of the things that I've learned in business is that when businesses fail, there's one common denominator every time. What do you think that might be?
Lack of money.
Lack of money? Absolutely. Yeah, I've been down that track, yep. What's the one common denominator? Money? Understanding and direction, sorry.
Organisational skills.
Yes. Skills, resources. People. Company didn't fail. The people failed. As much as we don't want to accept that. So the organisation's not them. Right? The company is not them. The company is, back to us. So it gets back to that.
Speaking on the succession side of things, okay, we've got this lovely farm that's going,
Yep.
and kids aren't interested in the farm,
No,
so there's no succession.
that's right.
Now what?
That's the question everyone's asking. And I've got mates of mine who've got businesses doing that sort of thing, right? These are not easy questions. There's no simple answer. If anybody thinks it's got a silver bullet,
It's an easy question, just a hard answer.
that's what I'm saying. It's none of these things have got a simple answer for it. But if we actually sit down and think about it, that's what I'm saying. You've got to actually sit down and think about it. Okay, with this criteria. Because it's like my business partners in the real estate business working on the, oh shit, don't wait till they're 21 because you didn't get the why, and never make an assumption. You know what assumption means, right? Yeah, exactly.
You may presume but never assume.
Exactly. So this is the key, is that it's about, you've got to actually think about it and not make an assumption that these people want this position. Do you know?
What if they don't want it? None of them.
Well, if they don't want the position, there's no point for us. But you've got to create the position to find the right people. And I'll come back in just a second.
Like with talking about the succession and nobody wanting to carry that on, really it then comes back to you deciding why you're doing it or why you've set up that company.
That's right. It comes, ladies and gentlemen, it all comes back to you. That's right. It all comes back to you.
Well, my father had a big business in Melbourne.
Yes.
Transmission engineering business. And he had 3 daughters
Mm.
who weren't interested
No.
in it. One he offered to my son and my husband, who
Yep.
didn't want it either.
Yep.
So over 6 months, he decided to sell.
That's right.
But he decided, and he looked into where would be the best person to buy it.
Yes.
And he ended up selling it to Dunlop Rubber, and this is 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And after 6 months died of a heart attack. And I was just so lucky that
Jeez.
he did that, because I couldn't have ever sold it to somebody like them the way he did.
That's right.
And so then we were able to carry on with my mother. She she was able to live a very nice life.
That's right. So the succession.
That was succession.
Yeah. So there's no simple answer to these questions. The fact of the matter is you've got to set up and set up a structure to do it. Because if there's no, you can sit there and say, who am I going to find? You've got to set up the business plan, the structure, the job description. What's the begin with the end in mind. I've been involved in startup businesses for the last 10 years, and either investing in them and running them. Now, in a startup, it's a good idea, right? And then you got to go and raise some money, and then you got to go and do, and you got to have a business plan, and you got to have a structure. And so what I learned is that you got to have an exit strategy. You have an exit strategy. Because when you go to, it's interesting when you go to find investors, they're saying, well, what's the exit? Because they don't want to be there forever, right? And I raised just during COVID, very difficult time, raising money. Couldn't go anywhere. I had an idea, and it was using AI and computer vision, tech company. I founded it in Singapore, and I'm ringing people wanting to invest $3 million in it over the phone. To people that have never heard from me before, have never heard of me, and they'd say, what do you know about tech? Nothing. What do you know about farming? Nothing. So why should I invest $3 million in your business? And I'd say, well, it's because you're probably insane. Right? And so I couldn't meet them because I was stuck. I was just going through, I'd been discovered a tumour on my lung, right? So I'm sort of still recovering from that. We're in the middle of bloody COVID, and I'm running out of time and running out of money to launch, to get this business going, right? Guess what happened? I raised $3 million, right? Because I had a business plan. Yeah. No one's going to give me, unless they're completely insane, $3 million. Who's going to give you $3 million to get a business plan? Who's going to do what? What's the projected revenue? But what's the exit? Yeah? And I had a lot of people, by the way, who wanted to invest in it. Funnily enough. Surprisingly.
No, I'm not surprised.
So, I am.
Because through COVID, all those people were still there.
Yeah.
And they were stuck like you.
Yeah. Obviously desperate.
But they still had money.
Yes.
Which they wanted to do something with.
And that's a really good point. Yeah. I had no competition. Because everyone had given up.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone had given up. But not me, because I was desperate. Okay?
Yeah, we were very good through COVID. The council asked me to close the doors for 3 months. And I did, but I didn't lock the door. And all my volunteers kept on coming in. We did a lot of cleaning up and reorganising in those 3 months. We had a lot of lunches together. We all wore masks and everything. But at the end of 3 months, I also ran the Mondo Market. And one of the storeholders asked me why aren't we opening? And I said, I don't know, but I had a phone number for the Queensland Health and the government. I rang the government and they said, don't know why you're ringing us, we never closed you. So they gave me the health department number, rang them, they said as long as you've got sanitiser on each door you can open. After 3 months I opened the art gallery, I opened the market, and I also run a ladies' lunch group. I opened that and we never looked back.
Resilience. And never assume.
And that was before my stroke.
Yeah, but that's right. But that's that helpful? I mean, it's about, you've got to put the structure in place. If there's no structure, it's not going to happen. These people are not going to turn up mysteriously unless you have a structure, right? And I remember when I was sitting in my one-bedroom apartment on the Gold Coast, in my cave, trying to raise this money, and all I could imagine was, well, who's my perfect investor? Right? Who's my perfect investor? And I could tell you very clearly who it was. Not the name of the person, but what that... So I had it clearly in my mind. So if you're looking for someone, you've got to actually... Or you're looking for the succession, you've got to have a structure. And you've got to have a plan. And Rotary got that. So one of the things you've got to develop those people and train them. Just don't say, oh, here's the bat and I'm out the door. So you've got to put them through a training program. And the best way is mentoring. The best way is mentoring those people. And if you get them early enough, you will identify them in or out very quickly. Yeah. If you spend some time with them. So you know what, maybe this is not the right person. So, okay? So you judge people, but you've got to then start mentoring, getting them coming in and shadow, what Rotary calls shadowing. Yeah? Bring them in. That's how you train apprentices.
Well, another thing like that too, on that similar sort of a line, in my personal experience,
yep,
I've got certain ways of doing things, certain things that need to be done, you know,
yes.
like that. So somebody comes in and says, look, I can give you a hand, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out that you might as well have just bitten the bullet and done it yourself rather than have it, because you get more done if you go and done the job yourself.
Yeah, because there's no plan.
Done up to the standard that's required.
So say no to those people then. No, you've got a plan. It's back to the job description thing again. You know, it's about identifying. You can't just say, oh, they want to come and give you a hand. You've got to have a plan for them and you've got to train them.
You know, it's like going out playing with the tractor, you know.
No skill?
Yes, they've been on a farm before. They've worked the tractor, but they've all only worked leakage stuff and tines, not offsets.
That's where you need to find out the skill.
Yeah.
You know, that you've got to... If I'm going to come and get a job with you and I say, oh, look, I'd really like to work in the kitchen. Have you had an experience in the kitchen? Well, I've cleaned one. So, you know, what have you... I've washed the dishes. Sometimes. Okay, so you've got to be... You just can't hire anybody. That's back to the fingernail and the fogger mirror.
That goes back to your interviewing too, though.
It does. It goes back to your structure. You can't do your structure.
What your position description is and
have they got the skills to do it? And sometimes you just got to put them through a trial process, right? And then you sometimes got to let them go because it didn't work out. Both when I got fired, what they said to me was, Carl, come in. What we're going to do is we're going to free up your future. Okay? They freed up my future, right? 2 people walked out to the car park and only 1 came back, and it wasn't me, right? One of the big corporate jobs I got fired from is that I had a really strong difference of opinion with the owner of the business. And he owned the business and I didn't. So I left. So I had to go, right? He fired me, right? Because he was the boss, you know? But my point is that you've got to have a plan. You've got to have something in structure and writing, in writing. Who's got job descriptions in writing? Besides you guys, obviously.
Doesn't most constitutions have job descriptions for the management committee?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But if you haven't got one, that's no excuse, you can write one. And I could probably write a job description for you today for any role you want. I can have it done in about 60 seconds.
Rule number 1, the wife is always right. Rule number 2, refer to...
That's right, exactly. On your phone, there is no excuse anymore. On your phone, You have who's got WhatsApp on their phone? WhatsApp on their phone. Okay. Download WhatsApp, and you can then. Oh, I did it before. Okay, so here we go. So I typed in. I've got WhatsApp. It's a communication thing, you know, and so it says here. I asked WhatsApp. It's called Meta AI, which is Facebook, right? I asked them, best places to visit in Nanango, Queensland. And it says Nanango, Queensland offers a mix of history, culture and natural beauty. And by the way, this was in 30 seconds. So Nanango Heritage Museum, number 1. Number 2 was the Nanango Country Music Festival. Number 3, Nanango RSL Museum. 30 seconds. So you can put in there, you go into WhatsApp, put in Ask Meta, and Meta will give you a job description, right? Gives you a start in 30 seconds. Please give me a job description for 30 seconds. Okay? Meta AI. Okay? There's your start. Now, before we had to, you know, go someplace and sit down and do that all day. You can have it written in 30 seconds. You can have your mate of mine he makes sheds, right? Builds big sheds, and he said, I'm really struggling with a business plan. I said, oh yeah, and I said, let's go on to Meta. We had his business plan done and he looked at it. Bang. And it had all the steps. So it's there on your phone. And guess how much that cost? Nothing. The price is right. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that you go, I'm going to change that. That's what you do. You can still change it. Okay? But it's there. So don't let that get in the road. It's all there. Ask it and it'll tell you. Okay?
It's a little bit different for some of us who have got volunteers. And we're finding, well, I'm probably the exception, but a lot of the organisations are finding it hard to get volunteers.
So what's the second most important person in a volunteer organisation besides the treasurer?
Well, besides the president.
Oh, yeah, president. Yeah, that's right.
It has to be that I'm where the buck stops. That's what I
No, who's the most important person?
Probably the tea lady.
Besides the volunteers, yes. Besides the tea lady. Your recruitment officer. Membership.
Yeah.
Membership. And if you're not recruiting, you're going backwards. Who's got too many members in their organisation?
Well, I do find it hard to find places for them. And we've got 2 people in the gallery every day, 7 days a week.
No, but I'm saying new people. My point is that one of the things that I've learned in business, if you're not recruiting, you are going backwards. So your recruitment policy, again, back to this, what's your recruitment policy?
And do you say that you, with your recruitment, if you think that they can't do the job, do you find someone within the organisation to do
Exactly.
to put them rather than leave?
Yeah, but the challenge we have in small country towns and is an ageing population.
And you don't have a big pot of people to draw from.
Exactly.
I've read some resumes of people who have worked for me before,
Yeah.
and when you read what the resume is and you go, you did what?
Yeah.
So it's always an interesting thing to see what people perceive that
Their experience.
their experience.
Yes.
And like when you see somebody who's worked for you and you read their resume and you go, yep, okay, I didn't know you did that.
You want to read mine? It's terrific. But one of the things that Rotary's sorry,
Is
Greg.
it really the age in the community or is it the young people? How to get them in?
I was about to say. So,
How to get them off their thinking iPads.
okay. So this is so Rotary's really good at a lot of things. Recruitment's not one of them. I can tell you, it is not one of them, and it is their biggest problem. And I don't know any organisation in this country that is not suffering as a result of that. And the reason that is, it's because of the ageing generation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're the last of the volunteer thinking.
So you're saying that?
No, don't jump in. We are the last of that thinking, of the volunteer thinking.
So what do you think is going to take over from us?
The cause-based people.
What do you mean by that?
They have a cause.
Oh, cause.
They have a cause. If you don't believe that, watch the demonstrations. Right, these are the same people on the iPads. They get a cause and they go off. Have a talk to the farmers who've got people trying to shut their farms down because you're growing animals. Yeah. That's a cause, okay? So there's people who have a cause. And it comes back to the why. They're not volunteers. They're not going to just die, you'll just go and join Rotary. What they want to do is they want to join, is like me, is that my cause was rescuing children in Cambodia. Rotary was a supporter, so I went and supported Rotary who was supporting my cause. So you've got to find out what people's cause is. And there's lots of kids out there with cause. The thing is, you know what? A lot of those causes are online. And we don't even know what they are. Okay? But they are there. You just got to look at that at a different way. That's where they, because I can tell you in Rotary they have a thing called Rotaract, and in Brisbane they've got a really strong Rotaract club, and these kids are early 20s, and they are driven, obsessed with causes, and these Rotaract presidents that I've had over the few years are really good at understanding why you joined this bloody club, why you joined. So they're really clear on this why. They're a lot more clear on the why than you think they are. But I absolutely guarantee it. Yeah?
That's not going to help.
No, it is. It will help, because you've got to think about it completely differently. Got to think about who's your membership and why would they want to join.
But with us, you're opening, you've got to have someone there through the day. Those people are working through the day. They might be going to the organisation meetings at night, but they are working through the day. That's our problem.
It is a problem, and maybe it's not solvable. Do you know?
Have they got an interest in what? Like
Yes.
We've got a heritage museum.
Yes.
So we need to get young people who are interested
Yes.
in old stuff, in
Yes.
heritage.
And there's a lot of people are, but they're yeah, there is, because but we've got to have you've got to be able to think, okay, where are they? And it's about understanding.
I keep asking every time I write an article, where at the moment is it on Facebook?
But they're not on Facebook.
No, they're on.
We're on Facebook. Old people are on Facebook.
So basically, you can identify someone that has the correct why that aligns with you, even if they don't have the skills, then, in the whole pool of it, you can't find anyone, but you find someone that's got the why that aligns with you, then you can teach them the skills.
Correct. Attitude trumps and culture trumps strategy, right?
Can you say that again? Attitude?
Attitude trumps strategy, trumps culture trumps strategy. The attitude.
Yeah, we have a young kid that started working for us now. He has autism. Now, beautiful natured kid, but doesn't keep on track. But it's worth putting in the effort to train him to how we want him to be. Just get his parents involved, get other people on side to train him to be a wonderful kid. Do anything for you, but the autism doesn't help. But, you know, we're prepared to put the time in. Yeah. So if you know, like he's where you want him to be at the end, but you've got to get him from point A to the end.
So they're there. They're just not where you think they are. They're not on Facebook.
No.
Okay?
I realise that, the young ones, but how do you get the really young ones? Because they're either at school, working, playing sport.
Great question. That's where you start. Ask that question. They're there. It's not that they're not there.
Can you start by aligning with the schools, going in, doing a talk or aligning with doing some promotional stuff within the school?
So this is a huge topic. So I just wanted to so you start to have some questions, but it's, ladies and gentlemen, it's back to this. You got to know what your why is, the organisation's why, and if you're looking for people to join your why, you need to know what their why is. But you've got to have a structure for them to come in. Don't let it be loose. You've got to have a structure.
But it's also one area or one aspect for the recruitment. But then you've got to look at the next stage, which is retention.
Recruit, train and retain. That's the only jobs you've got. As a business owner, you've got recruitment, train and retain. They're the three things that you must do. Recruit, train and retain. Because a lot of business people can recruit, a lot of them can train, and then there's no retention program. I'll just pay them more money. Well, that's probably not going to work for you, right? So you've got to have a retention program. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I could talk for 2 days on this.
That would be similar in our meat business, where we get plenty of people buying, and they'll buy once, and they didn't mind it. You know, it's not as if it was tough meat.
No, sure.
But they don't come back again. You've got to figure out why they didn't, and who are those people to target.
That's your evaluation process.
Yeah.
That's how you improve your business. That's right.
Because, and I'm not a real good salesman. I'm not a real good seller.
I think you're better than you think, Greg. I think we're all in sales. You must be pretty good salesman because you managed to sell this job. Yes, Joy? And there's also the retention program must be going okay as well.
Yeah, it's only one. What about the training?
I'm not going there. But look, ladies, I've got to go. We're getting the wind up. I hope there's been some thought processes for you. I'm not going to answer all of your questions, but I'm hoping that you can at least start to understand how important this is, about having a plan and going forward. But there are solutions to the problem that we have. A lot of it's got to do with the why. Thank you very much for coming, and look forward to having a great 2 days, and thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.